The Hot and Hazy update is by far the biggest yet for Grounded. The backyard has changed, there are new insects, new armor and weapons, and so much more. I spent dozens of hours in the public test server to get a head start, and in this video I'll tell you the 12 most important things you need to know about the Hot and Hazy update. If you're not already subscribed to the channel, make sure to do so now so you never miss any future Grounded videos. Let's get started. The first and most noticeable change you're probably going to see when you log into the Hot and Hazy update on Grounded is the map has changed dramatically. So as you can see, the entire western side of the map has now been populated. So this entire area here prior to this update was just pretty much empty. The picnic table was here. There was a placeholder for the sandbox. The trash heap area back here was empty. And the haze area was partially complete. Now the haze lab is complete. The haze area has canyons in it and lots of infected insects, which we'll talk about in a minute. The picnic table now is fully populated. So instead of just having that beehive down there, you have all kinds of items up here. There's lots of stuff to discover up here. The sandbox is fully populated, although there is a lab in the sandbox that is not complete, so that'll probably come in a future update. The trash heap off in the distance looks to me to complete. It was the part they were working on the most during the public test server, so they went through a lot of iterations of it, changing things. There's also a black anthill that leads from the trash heap down here into the... So it's right here, you can get an entrance and then come out into the sandbox, so you can go in either way. So those are connected. So we got 4 new areas, basically. The picnic table, which is populated, the sandbox, the trash heap, and the black anthill. And then the haze area has been fully updated. I believe it's complete at this point. Number 2 on the list is going to be, as you might have noticed, the haze is gone. Now, the haze will be there when you load in if you haven't clogged up the weed killer over there, but you can actually turn off the haze. Now, this comes with some positives and some negatives. The positives, obviously, are going to be able to see much further. There's lots of resources that are in the haze area. There's lots of insects as well that are infected that are going to give you some trouble. So if you turn the haze off, you'll be able to see those insects, find those resources much easier, and you won't have to use a gas mask when you're in there. The downside is going to be is the fungal growth that's in there, as well as the strange spores, which are new, and the infected insects are going to start making their way across the yard. In fact, I'm pretty sure I saw a infected ladybug, which we'll talk about in just a second, down here earlier today. So they've made their way all the way across the yard. And then the fungal growth and the strange spores, which are part of the fungal growth now that explode, they've made their way as far over as I've seen them, I believe, inside the oak tree over there. So they can make their way all the way across the yard. So there's trade-offs. I don't believe you can undo this change. So once you do it, it's done. So you're going to have to think about what to do on that. I'll probably do a whole video on that. And I do have a video on how to plug up the haze. I'll leave a link for that in the description below in case you're interested in doing it. Third thing I want to talk about is resource changes. So first and foremost, there's new resources, but the biggest change right now is going to be to quartzite. Prior to the Hot and Hazy update, quartzite was primarily used to repair weapons. It was used in a few crafting recipes, but primarily it was used to repair weapons. Now quartzite is used for a more important feature, which we'll talk about in just a second. But you're going to make sure you stock up on quartzite. I did a video on that as well. You can find that on the channel, and I'll leave a link for that down in the description where you can find all the quartzite. Just a quick hint, there's a ton of it in the haze area. But we also have the gum nugget, which you use to actually plug up the weed killer 420, and it's also used in some crafting recipes for smoothies. We have the black ant egg, and then scrolling down here, we're mainly looking for some chunks down here. So there's some new insect parts as well, which we'll get to in just a second. But the salt shard, the mint shard replaces the actual mint chunks, and then there's also a spicy shard right here. Those are going to lead into the next part. So that leads into the next thing, which is upgrading your weapons. So to upgrade a weapon, you're going to need the smithing station, which you can purchase from Burgle after giving one of the newer chips. What you do is you pick up a weapon, you place it in the smithing station, and you're going to need quartzite to upgrade weapons. So that's why quartzite's so important now. You're going to need a ton of quartzite. It takes 62 quartzite to go take a weapon from base level 0 up to level 5, and every weapon and tool require quartzite to get from levels 1 to 5. After that, level 6 and 7, you can either go the quartzite route, which is mighty, you can go the minty route, which is fresh, you can go the spicy route, which is spicy, or the salty route, which is salty. And that's why those resources are important as well. But if you want to level up at least one of every weapon, you're going to need a ton of quartzite. So make sure you farm yourself some quartzite, save it, go back and get it every time you see it. Just stock up on it because you're definitely going to need it. Because the reason you're going to need to have different sets of weapons is each insect now has strengths and weaknesses. So for example, an insect might be weak against a fresh weapon, but strong against a spicy weapon. So in that case, you want to use this fresh weapon to be able to do more damage, because if you use the spicy weapon, you're going to do reduced damage. They also can have strengths and weaknesses versus different attack types. So for example, they might be strong against chopping, which is axes and daggers, but they might be weak against slashing, which is swords. So I'm going to do an entire video just on that because there's a ton to cover in that. But I just wanted to give you a brief rundown on why quartzite is so important and also how to upgrade your weapons. So in addition to being able to upgrade your weapons, you can also upgrade your characters. And how you do that is by collecting milk molars and mega milk molars. I have an entire video on that shows you where all of them are located. I'll leave a link for that down in the description below. But basically, once you collect a couple of them, you can come over to Burgle. He's going to give you this option that says pump me up with some milk molars. You're going to click on that. And as you're going to see, the white milk molars are going to allow you to upgrade your character. The gold mega milk molars are going to let you upgrade stack sizes. The gold are for everyone that's in the world. So if you upgrade these now, when someone else comes in the future, they'll be able to have all these upgrades. Likewise, if you collect the regular milk molars, when someone logs in, they'll be able to have all the ones you already collected, so they're not limited. Everybody can pick their own stats. And basically what you have a choice of is leveling up your health, stamina, thirst, hunger, and max mutations. Prior to the Hot and Hazy update, when you analyze things, it would unlock, it would give you raw science and it would unlock different crafting recipes. You can still get it. So right now I have this raw weevil meat. I'm going to analyze that and we're going to see what it gives us. It's going to give us a little bit of raw science. So it gives us 30 raw science. It's going to tell us the recipe. So not much has changed there except the raw science, I believe that actually might have went up. And then it's going to give us Brainpower. So what Brainpower does is you get Brainpower for every time you analyze something. And what you do is you go here and it will tell you different crafting recipes. So if you've played the game before, you're probably not going to find much use in this because you're going to know most of these recipes if you played before. If you're starting fresh or if you're a brand new player, this can become really useful because what's going to end up happening is you're going to unlock different levels of Brainpower. For example, I think I unlocked most of the water stuff on a fresh playthrough that I started a couple weeks ago. And I ended up unlocking all the recipes for the underwater stuff before I even touched the koi pond. So that was super helpful because I know the first time that I went to the koi pond, I had no idea that the lily pad wax was actually under the lily pads until I was under there one day and I was like, what's that stuff growing under there? So this will unlock these recipes for you and it'll tell you how to actually craft them so you know what resources to go get. So you can either unlock them by analyzing the resources or by unlocking the Brainpower. And it actually has made the progression feel much better through the early game compared to what it was before this. So before it gets dark, we're going to head over to the sandbox down this zip line so we can see the new insects that have been added to the game. There's been 8 new insects added to the game. I should be able to find most of them pretty quickly. The only ones that are sometimes troublesome to find are the little new gnats. But in the sandbox, you're going to find 1 new insect, possibly 2. There's always one that's in here, and that is the antlions. So the antlions can burrow under the ground and pop up on you. They're also found down in these tunnels. They are quite tanky. If you watch an antlion fight a wolf spider, the antlion will usually completely destroy the wolf spider, so they have a ton of HP. We'll just hit one just real quick to show you how much HP they have. They have a ton of HP. So the antlions are new. We also have black ants, so there should be some black ants wandering over here by the black anthill. I'm wandering my way really quickly down into the black anthill. There's usually some right here at the entrance, so hopefully there'll be some down here. They basically just look like red ants, but they're black. They're much stronger than red ants. They're going to be a lot tougher to deal with. And the ant armor does not give you protection from them. So whether or not you have black ant armor on or red ant armor, it's not going to stop them from attacking you. So here they are. And you can see how much extra health they have compared to the regular red worker ants. So here's our third new friend, probably the one that people have been most looking forward to, and that's the roly-poly. So you can find the sickly roly-polies most frequently in the newer areas that have been updated. So around the picnic table, the sandbox, and the trash heap, you're going to find them in the green grassy area. There's, I think, 4 maybe of them, maybe more, I'm not sure. But there should be a couple around now. Be mindful, they are extremely tanky. It's probably going to take you quite a bit of time to kill the first one that you come upon. But just be careful, they do a pretty strong attack, and they have a lot of HP. Alright, so we're over in the haze area. This area has a bunch of new insects in it. As I mentioned, the haze area has been fully complete now. But with the haze turned off, you're going to easily be able to see these guys. If the haze wasn't turned off, they will be massed down there inside of a fog. So down there we got 4 infected larvae. So there's infected larvae all over the place. Over here, there's some more infected larvae, as well as some infected gnats. And then the big boy is going to be the infected ladybugs. Let's see if we can find one of them. And then there's also meaty gnats, which you can typically find over in the trash heap area on top of the trash bags. And then, of course, we got the infected weevils, the infected mites. Those have been here before. But the infected larvae and the infected ladybugs are going to be the ones that give you probably the most trouble. I think they have about 25-30% more HP than a regular version of them. So here's the infected ladybug. And she's going to be tanky as heck. We're just going to hit her one time real quick to show you how much HP she actually has. She's got a ton of HP. It's going to take a lot longer to kill her. This is a level 7 Antlion Greatsword, which is one of the better weapons in the game. And it only did, what, like a bar of health damage to her? So it's going to take a lot of hits to kill one of those. So that's all the new insects that have been added into the game as of the Hot and Hazy update. So since we mentioned it, we just looked at the new insects. There's obviously going to be new resources. So to go with the new resources, of course, we're going to have new weapons and armor. So let's really quickly just go through them. We got the Antlion Greatsword, which you get obviously from Antlion parts. We got the Salt Morningstar, which is a secret weapon you can find the crafting recipe for. Black Ant Sword. And down here we got the Black Ant Shovel. We got some new arrows using the new candy resources we can use instead of just using basic arrows. So that'll actually, because the bows can't be upgraded with the spicy, salty, or fresh, you have to use arrows to get that ability with them. And then down here we're going to have the Black Ant Shield. And then we got some armor, of course. So we got the Antlion armor set, the Roly-Poly armor, which was the one that was shown in the Shroom and Doom update, but just added now. And then there's the Black Ant armor set, which was also added in the Hot and Hazy update. So we got tons of new armor, tons of new weapons. Let's talk about mutations real quick, because they have changed as well. There are 4 new mutations in the Hot and Hazy update. We have Blade Master, Parry Master, Truffle Tussle, and Spicy Safety. Those are the 4 new mutations. And then in addition to that, Coup de Grace has a second phase now, and Fresh Defense has 3 phases instead of 1. Also, many of the other mutations have changed, either in what they do or how much they cost or how they're used. I have an entire video for that. I'll leave that down in the description below along with the other videos if you want to watch that. But just know there's 4 new mutations and the others have changed. The biggest change is the fact that the ones that used to buff attack, so Chopper used to give you bonus axe damage of 10, 20, or 30%. Those have all been changed so that now the weapon upgrades will give you the extra damage, and each one of these upgrades, like the Chopper and Barbarian, will give you a different bonus so that you're not having to pick one of them while you're using a specific weapon. You can just have the weapon upgraded and choose whether or not you want to use these bonuses as well. So one other thing that's had a major overhaul is going to be the food system. So prior to the Hot and Hazy update, you could pretty much just live off of jerky and water, or you could eat the foods you could eat found around the map, such as the mushrooms or acorn bits. Now those are considered snacks, so they're going to give you much less HP refill, and the jerky's been nerfed substantially, I believe. So what they've replaced that with, or what they've made better, is meals. So you unlock meals by purchasing them from Burgle. You're going to get those. I believe each one of the chips in the game is going to give you access to these. So if you've already bought them, you're going to have to go over there and buy the cookbook recipes from them. But what they're going to do is they're going to give you different food meal recipes that you cook. And as you'll see over here, the meals they require different parts, but they're going to give you well fed, which means your HP and thirst are not going to drain for between 8 and 20 minutes, depending on which one it is. I guess the tier 3 is probably 20 minutes. The tier 1 is going to be 8 minutes, and I would guess the tier 2 is going to be somewhere between 12 and 16 minutes before it starts decreasing. And they also, each one will give you a special bonus. So for example, the case of Dilettante will give you well fed, which means you won't be hungry for a substantial amount of time. I think it's 20 minutes. It also gives you thorns. That means when an insect attacks you or another player attacks you, you're going to reflect back some of that damage towards them. And it gives you sizzle protection. One thing we didn't talk about, if you're in the sandbox during the daytime and you're not in the shade, you're going to have a little sizzle bar that runs down. When that runs down, you're going to start getting burned. And you want to make sure you have sizzle protection. So if you eat a case of Dilettante, we'll give you the sizzle protection. And each one of these gives you a different one. So you got critical hit chance, fall defense, attack stamina. So the meals, you're definitely going to want to start stocking up on meals. The good thing about these, I think most of them are made from resources that do not spoil. So those are the first 11 things. The last one I want to talk about is the Miniboss that was added to the game. So I'm not going to actually show you the Miniboss. I'm just going to tell you where he is. The Miniboss is down here inside of the Black Anthill, and it is the Assistant Manager. The Assistant Manager is a new robot type that looks similar to the Archers that were added in the Shroom and Doom update, but it's bigger. It's got much bigger attacks. I don't want to spoil the fight for you. Just be mindful. It's going to be a tough fight if you haven't fought him before, and which you're definitely going to have to fight him because you're going to need that to progress through to some of the other areas. So you're going to want to make sure you find that in the Black Anthill. So those are the 12 things you need to know about the Hot and Hazy update and Grounded. Let me know what your favorite part of the update is in the comments down below. If you found this video helpful, make sure to click the like button and consider subscribing for more videos just like this. Thank you for watching, and I'll see you in the next video.